This is an Undiscovered Legacy production and proud member of Pod Nation Media Network. Hello, Scoob believers, and welcome to episode 102 of the Undiscovered Entrepreneur Get Across the Start Line. And it's me, Scoob, coming at you, whatever device you happen to be listening on. All right, today's episode is epic. I can't believe I got this interview for all my Scoob believers out there, but just so you know, got a little embarrassing in the center because I lost my internet connection, so it got a little fuzzy right here in a second there, but I cleaned it up as best as I could because all the information is so fantastic. And the guest for all this fantastic information is none other than the first podcaster I ever listened to when I was starting my entrepreneur adventure, John Lee Dumas from EO Fire, from Entrepreneurs on Fire. I can't believe I got him on my podcast for y'all. He's got some fantastic information. We talk about overcoming imposter syndrome and perfectionism. The stuff that we talk about on our podcast, he actually mentioned first before I even asked him the question. We embrace imperfection and push through fears to share our message with the world. And consistency is key. Another big point for him, commit to daily practices in your chosen field and build skills and achieve success. We call that putting in the reps. We're going to hear a lot more about that. And value over success. Focus on delivering value rather than chasing success, as value-driven efforts lead to success. This is all stuff we talk about with John Lee Dumas. So let's give this gentleman a fantastic listen. Salutations, Scoob believers, and we are here again with another amazing entrepreneur. But we're not just talking about any entrepreneur here. We're talking about one of the biggest entrepreneurs I've ever come across in my entrepreneur adventure, none other than Mr. John Lee Dumas. Hey, John, how are you doing?
I am doing great, and I am a Scoob believer.
Oh boy, I didn't have to ask the question. That's amazing. Thank you so much for being a Scoob believer automatically. I really super appreciate you. All right, so first of all, let's just give it a little, I mean, a lot of us know who you are, but I'm sure there's a small percentage of people out there that don't know who you are. I don't know if they've been living under a rock or what, but let's give them like a quick synopsis of who you are and what you actually do.
13 years ago, I decided to launch the first daily podcast in the world that was interviewing entrepreneurs called Entrepreneurs on Fire. And here we are, 13 years later, 4,500 episodes later, 170 million listens. And I'm still going because I like talking to great people. I like talking to successful people about their failures, their struggles, their obstacles, their challenges, sharing it with my audience so that we can all learn from each other because we all stand up on the shoulders of giants.
And that's right. We lift others by lifting. We lift ourselves by lifting others. It's basically what it boils down to be. So that's fantastic. So when we were at Podfest, because that's when I met you, it was during Podfest, I had the opportunity to ask you one of the first questions I was asking you. I'm going to ask you that same question right now so my audience can hear this amazing answer that you had for me. So what was the one thing that actually stopped you from getting started in your entrepreneur adventure?
I'm really glad you asked that question at Podfest specifically, because if you remember, it actually evoked an audible gasp from many people in the audience because, you know, I went there. I just went there. And so basically what I would answer is really twofold. Number one, it's the imposter syndrome. You know, we have doubts, we have fears, we have anxiety around getting our message, our voice out there to the world because we're afraid of a lot of things. Naturally, it's innate to be afraid, but we're afraid that it's going to fail, that people are going to laugh at us, that people aren't going to, you know, understand what we're trying to get across to them. And it's going to be very challenging. So we have all these fears that we just put out there, whether or not be true, you don't know. And so what do people do? They live in what I call pre-launch world. And pre-launch world means you have your idea, your passion, your mission, your message that you want to share with the world, but pre-launch, which means before you actually put it to the world, everybody's had on some level because you're a human being. A lot of people do, and this is where I went during your question at Podfest, is a lot of people behind this word called perfectionism because they say, well, you know what? I'm working on this thing. It's going to be great. I'm going to put it out to the world. You hate the idea of post-launch because post-launch means it might not work and you'll find out if it doesn't work. And that's a really sad place. It might never happen because it might work, but you're scared of that thing that it might not work. So you live behind this wall of what I call perfectionism. You just say, hey, I'm working on it, but I'm a perfectionist. So it's going to take a little more time until it's just perfect. And I like to say, listen, you're not a perfectionist. You're a coward. You are a coward because you're hiding behind a word called perfectionism because you're scared of failing. It's okay to be scared of failing, but what's not okay is to not share your message, your mission, your voice with the world because it will impact people. It will impact one person, 10 people, 100 people, who knows how many people, but it will, period. So you have to get over yourself. Stop pretending that you're a perfectionist. Just understand that being a coward is part of being a human. We're all scared of a lot of things, and get it out there to the world, get feedback, improve, iterate, adjust, and drive forward.
I love it. That whole thing that you said, you just went over every one of my hurdles that I talk about in my podcast. Perfectionism, imposter syndrome, failure, fear. It's all right there. And I guess that's why when I interview my new entrepreneurs, that's always the thing it's one of those four things that always stop them from getting started. So it really kind of makes me feel good that I'm going the right way with what I'm doing because you automatically know exactly what my hurdles are. So thank you very much for that. I super appreciate you. All right. So since pretty much my whole audience here are brand new entrepreneurs that are just getting started in an entrepreneur adventure, what one piece of advice would you want to make sure that you get across to every one of my Scoob believers out there?
You got to put in the reps. So what does that mean? You have to understand what it is that you want to do in this world. And you've got to get up every day and do that thing. Do you want to write? Do you want to become a writer? Get up every day and write. You want to do a podcast? Get up every day and do a podcast. You want to be a comedian? And this is a great Jerry Seinfeld quote. You've got to write a joke down every single day. That's how Jerry always answers a question like, how do you become so funny? How do you have so many jokes? He said, I committed to writing at least one joke a day, and I never broke that streak. Sometimes the jokes were terrible. Sometimes they were great. Sometimes they were okay. Sometimes he wrote one joke. Sometimes he wrote 50 jokes down, but he never didn't do at least one joke per day because when you let a day slip, then it's 2, then it's 4, then it's 10. Then before you know it, you're not a comedian anymore. You're not a podcaster. You're not a writer. What are you? You're not doing that thing. You're not putting in the reps.
All right, and that's cool too because I also know that he puts those X's on the calendar as he's making, and he makes sure he doesn't break that chain of X's as he's making that joke a day. That's awesome. That's
By
awesome.
the way, he should auction off that calendar every single year. I mean, that would go for a lot of money.
I know all this is a calendar with a bunch of X's. As long as he autographs it, I'm all about it.
But it's Jerry Seinfeld X's, and maybe he'll scribble a joke or two down in those boxes too. Throughout the month, which would be pretty cool.
I'd love to have some Jerry Seinfeld jokes just written down on anything.
Yeah, and the throwaway ones, the ones that he decided he'll never say publicly. You're like, wow, this is a joke that nobody's ever heard before. That's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Maybe I could tell that joke and it'll go over well. Who knows? All right.
Let's be honest. Jerry Seinfeld's worst joke is better than our best joke ever.
Okay. Yeah, you got me. That's for sure. What can I say? All right. Awesome. So, John, this is your time to shine. I know we only had a few minutes here. So what I'd like to do here is just get an idea of how we get a hold of you. How do we listen to your awesome podcast and all that good stuff? Ready, set, go.
I want to leave people with a quote. It's by Albert Einstein, it's just a quote that I love that really helped me early in my journey, which is try not to become a person of success, but rather a person of value. And that's what I was able to do with Entrepreneurs on Fire. I just delivered value, free, valuable, consistent content every single day. So what can that be in your world? Whatever that is it a podcast? Is it a video? Is it writing? Is it a product, a service, a coaching, whatever it is? How can you become that person of value? All the magic for us happens at eofire.com. We have some free courses for entrepreneurs there. We have a great newsletter. My podcast is Entrepreneurs on Fire. And of course, I'm very proud of my book, The Common Path to Uncommon Success, which is a 17-step roadmap to financial freedom and fulfillment.
Fantastic. And if it's okay with you, John, I'd like to put that in the show notes. If anybody wants to check that out, we can just click on the show notes there and find the link to go to your book. Is that okay?
No, please don't do that.
Oh, come on, please.
I'm kidding. Of course.
All right. That's awesome. So, John, thank you so much for being on the Undiscovered Entrepreneur. And I also just want to let you know, since I got you right here, that you were actually my very first podcast that I came across and listened to on a consistent basis when I started my entrepreneur adventure, my very first podcaster. So thank you very much for doing that and leading me down. I never caught up to you though. I listened to you like 5, 6, 7 episodes a day. I'm still trying to catch up to you here. So,
Wow,
yeah.
good for you, brother. Well, thanks for that content. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was great connecting and having me on.
All right. All right, Scoob Believers, make sure you stay tuned for the wrap up. All right, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye. All right, Scoob Believers, and there you have it. John Lee Dumas, the number one. Fantastic information. I can't believe we got him. And he hit so many great points in the short amount of time I got a chance to talk to him. We talked about embracing your imperfections. Don't let the fear of failure hold you back. Push through your doubts and share your message with the world, because you never know who could be listening to this and they hear the one thing that they decide pushes them through. Or even in your imperfection lies the power to inspire and create change. God, I just love it. Consistency breeds success. Show up every day and put in the work, put in the reps. Remember, we talked about that. No matter how small the effort, it's through relentless dedication and daily practice that you will build the skills and achieve success that you desire. Scoob Believers, thank you so much for this opportunity to be able to talk to you. And thank you, John Lee Dumas, for taking the time out of your very busy schedule, because you are a busy man, to come talk to the Scoob Believers. All right, Scoob Believers, thank you so much, and you all have a great evening. Bye-bye.